So, how do we get to the point and create a dynamic where our potential customers feel comfortable opening up to us and sharing how they actually feel about their current situation? They tell us truthfully and honestly how they really feel about the utility company and their electric bill and paying the rate hikes. Well, in order to get to that point, in most cases, we're going to have to go through a couple layers of logical, factual information about their situation and the problems in order to get to that point to understand how those problems in that situation are actually affecting them. Now, in our active listening video, we broke this down a little bit. What we're listening for are the 3 layers of their problems and their needs. The first layer is the outer logical need. It's a fact of the environment, a fact of their situation. And then the second layer, an inner logical need, which is also a fact, but it's a personal fact about their personal situation and how that personal situation is affecting them. And then after we get through the 2 logical layers, then we can get to the emotional layer to understand their emotional needs and how they feel about those logical situations. Now, going through all 3 layers is so crucial to helping our potential customers actually voice and explain their situation and persuade themselves to make a change. So how do we go through all 3 layers? A brief example, this is just one example, but there are many different ways that this could go. But for example, an outer logical need, it's a fact about their current situation, could be, I'm paying an electric bill and the electric bill's high and I want it lower. There's the gap, right? Yeah, lower the electric bill. Cool. Now, what would actually change for you if you had a lower electric bill? Oh, well, I'd have more money to spend on my kids or my family or to invest or whatever I want to do with my money. Cool. Well, that's also fairly factual. Yeah, I would spend the money elsewhere. There's an inner logical personal need, outer logical, and then, okay, cool. Well, being able to do that, how would that actually make you feel? Like being able to have that extra $50, $60, $70 a month to spend on your kids or your family or your investment or whatever's important to you. Like, how would that actually affect you personally though? Oh, I would just feel so relieved, or I'd be so happy, right? Now there's the feeling. That's the actual emotion. That's actually what our potential customer would get from working with us. So how do we go through all 3 layers? How do we help our potential customers explain their outer logical factual situation, inner logical factual situation, and then the inner subjective, the unique emotional experience that they would have working with us? So there are 4 different ways that I use in order to better and more deeply understand where my potential customer is coming from. Those 4 ways are probing and clarifying, mirroring, and labeling. Now, probing and clarifying is just directly asking a customer to explain more or to clarify something that they just said. For example, if they say, yeah, like savings are important to me. Well, Mr. Customer, I mean, savings can mean different things to different people. Help me understand, when you say savings, like what does that actually mean for you? And if you don't realize how many assumptions you're making, that might sound like a silly question. But in reality, is savings, does it mean the lowest monthly bill, the lowest monthly payment? Does it mean the lowest amount spent over 10 years, 25 years? Does it mean the lowest interest rate? Does it mean no debt? Does it mean, right? There are so many different ways to view savings, and they're all relative to their specific situation. So that's probing and clarifying are really close to the same. Labeling and mirroring is really cool because it honors their autonomy more. They feel this reflexive need to explain more of what they just said because it occurs to them as though you didn't understand completely what they were trying to communicate, which you didn't, right? We're not making assumptions. So they say, yeah, savings are important to me. Say savings, and then I go silent. They either reflexively explain more or they say, yeah. And I say, okay, cool. Like savings, like walk me through, like, how do you mean by savings exactly? And then I would probe off of that. Or labeling, they could talk about saving. Yeah, saving money is important because of this. So, okay, so seems like that's important to you. And then I go silent. It wasn't a question, it was a statement, but it prompts them to continue speaking more. Or some other labels like on the doorstep, just bringing the darkness to light, like just whatever the dynamic is. Sometimes there's this awkward dynamic and we try to sweep it under the rug and act like it's non-existent. And that actually gives so much power to this dynamic that's not serving us. And so if someone is just kind of like dodging me on the doors, I'll use the label, it seems like you're just brushing me off nicely, and then go silent. I don't say anything. I just leave it there. And then they explain, they clarify, and it just, any power that awkward dynamic had in the moment, it got killed. It's done. So labeling, right? It seems like, it sounds like, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it seems like. And by putting that label on it, they either will agree with it and they'll explain more, or they'll correct the record, right? If maybe they're not brushing me off nicely, they just have something else going on, they'll correct the record and they'll tell me what's really going on. So probing, clarifying, labeling, mirroring, use those ways of communicating as a means to really get through all three layers and understand how your potential customer feels, the emotional, unique, subjective experience with their problems, and how solving those problems would actually affect them.